Hello, hello. Okay, we continue on. So these are two ways not to respond to arguments. Both of them really come down to just saying, don't just use rhetoric. That's what they came down to. But the book spent some time on it, so I thought I would go with that. It's a good review. Now we're going to go over the how to respond to an argument. So how to respond to an argument. Okay, well, I kind of end up going diagonal. Anyway, okay, and what we mean by this, how to rationally respond to an argument. And step one is, let's say you're not convinced that some argument is correct, an argument that somebody gives you, then you want to attack the truth of the premises. Okay, so you're like, this is a good argument, or it seems like a good argument, but wait, premise 2 is false, or something like that. Thinking about this in terms of the conditions for a rationally persuasive argument, you're trying to show that one of the premises is not reasonable to believe, at least for you. So that's what step 1 is. Let's look at step 2. And step 2 says attack deductive validity. Okay, in doing this, you'd be showing that just because the premises are true, it doesn't follow that the conclusion has to be true. That's deductive validity. And by doing this, either of these two things you're attacking, you guys remember, it starts with an S, you're attacking deductive soundness. Okay, that's what you're doing when you're performing either of these two steps. Now, these are the two things we've already learned in earlier videos. But there's something now new that we can add to our list. So we've already talked about this in the past. And the third way to attack an argument is based on new things we learned. We learned different types of arguments. Okay, so you attack an argument's deductive validity, and let's say it turns out to not be valid. Okay, does that mean it's a bad argument? Not necessarily. Okay, so what's another thing you could attack? So I want you to think about that, and if you're not sure what it is, pause and think about it. What might be the other thing to attack? Okay, so I'll let you pause. Okay, I'll imagine that you paused. Okay, so here's what it is. You're gonna attack. Starts with an I. Inductive forcefulness. Okay, inductive forcefulness. So suppose you've attacked deductive validity and you show, look, even if your premises are true, it doesn't follow that your conclusion has to be true. Okay, the person making the argument, the person giving the argument, can say, I agree, it's not deductively valid, but that's not what I'm aiming for. I'm aiming for inductive forcefulness. I'm just trying to show that if the premises are true, then the conclusion's probably true, given no other information about the topic. Okay, so that's step 3 if you're trying to criticize an argument. Attack either truth of premises, deductive validity, or inductive forcefulness. Okay, let's keep pushing on. Number 4. Okay, now remember back to the conditions for an argument to be rationally persuasive, and there are ways for it to not be persuasive. Okay, either the premises aren't reasonable to believe, or attack deductive, or the argument's not valid or forceful. But there's a third condition for rational persuasiveness. So what is that? Okay, if you can remember, try pause and try to remember it. But if not, I'll just have to tell you. Okay, which is show that the argument starts with a D, defeated. Okay. And that's the last step to trying to block the rational persuasiveness of an argument. Okay, so you remember most Koreans aren't professors. Moon is a Korean, therefore probably Moon isn't a professor. Yeah, okay, premises are true. It isn't deductively valid, but it is inductively forceful. Should we be convinced? Well, we can still respond to the argument by saying the argument is defeated. Okay. Now, suppose you tried to do all four of these things and you failed. So you weren't able to successfully track the truth of the premises, so the premises are reasonable to believe. It's turned out that either the argument is valid or forceful. It's one of those. And supposing it was forceful, you weren't able to show that the argument was defeated. Okay. So what if you failed in all four of these times? So what should you do? Here's number 5. Believe. Believe the conclusion. Critical thinking, it's not just about criticizing. A good critical thinker is a logical thinker, okay? And part of critical thinking means actually believing what people say sometimes, okay? So critical thinkers aren't just criticizers. So if you recall from an earlier lesson, the critical thinker isn't just a skeptic or a dogmatist or a person of contradiction. The person of contradiction would be someone who's always doing one of these four, right? Or the credulous person just believing whatever. Okay. The person of the rational thinker, if you remember, follows the evidence and follows the reasoning. Okay, and they'll believe the rationally persuasive arguments. If it's not reasonable to believe the premise, then they won't believe the argument. If it's either not deductively valid or deductively forceful, then they won't believe the argument. If the argument is defeated, they won't believe it. But if it's none of those things, then they'll believe the conclusion. Okay, so we want to be the rational person. We want to follow the evidence. Okay, so that's how to respond to an argument, either attack in one of these ways or believe. Okay, with that, we're going to go moving into the new topic of fallacies.